researching this, and it was worse than I even thought. And then I saw UN briefings and just all of it. And the UN saying, oh, we can't do anything about it. You want to go down the rabbit hole, you go do it.
Newsweek, January the 9th, 2009. Organ trafficking was long considered a myth, but now mounting evidence suggests it is real and a growing problem even in America.
In America, at least 2,500 black people go missing every year. At least. Never to be found again, not killed enough, you just don't find them again. Why doesn't that number ever go down? How can you constantly have the same amount of people? Are you trying to say the same killers go out and murder the same amount of people every year? No. Somebody is taking black people off the street. There's been stories on this. Kidnapped by the government.
17-year-old black child found dead in high school gym and stuck between some athletic equipment.
They did an autopsy and they buried him. His family, they weren't satisfied with the results because they still wanted to know what happened to their son. They had the body exhumed, found out that his organs were missing and his body was stuffed with newspapers, and people are still trying to find answers. The officials down there in Georgia, they act like they don't know what's going on.
The family of 19-year-old Kenneka Jenkins is hoping police and officials at the hotel can provide answers about her death. They are far from satisfied with what they've been told so far.
I believe that someone in this hotel killed my child.
And don't make it seem like it's some type of prejudice, no race thing, because it's not. Because it could be your child. It could be a blue child. It could be a purple child. It doesn't matter.
We've been told through you, the media, there are 47 cameras and 36 hours of tape that they never looked for. They never checked. They never searched. They never did anything while a young 19-year-old disoriented girl is sitting in their freezer.
I'll let y'all know. I promise y'all I'll tell y'all the truth. But it never set right. That's why I asked for help. And I love y'all and I thank y'all. Peace.
There's videos of them killing people and taking their organs out while they're alive, showing them to them. And harvesting little kids.
Body parts. They've been selling body parts. That's old. That's not new. That's why black people don't like to go to hospitals. They go to get their toes clipped, their fingernails clipped, and they wake up and their foot's gone.
There's a case in the UK recently. A Somalian girl was brought over there for organ harvesting. They found out that they were going to harvest her organs and they stopped that. There was another case in Asian couples. They went over to Africa. They adopted a black girl. 2 weeks later, she was dead. So these cases of organ harvesting are just going on all over the world, and people are being real quiet about it.
Mr. Secretary, I watched President Bush deliver a moving speech at the United Nations in September 2003, in which he mentioned the crisis of the sex trade. The president called for the punishment of those involved in this horrible business. But at the very moment of that speech, DynCorp was exposed for having been involved in the buying and selling of young women and children. While all of this was going on, DynCorp kept the Pentagon contract to administer the smallpox and anthrax vaccines and is now working on a plague vaccine through the Joint Vaccine Acquisition Program. Mr. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls?
Absolutely not. The policy of the United States government is clear, unambiguous, and opposed to the activities that you described. The second question.
Well, how do you explain the fact that DynCorp and its successor companies have received and continue to receive government contracts?
I would have to go and find the facts, but there are laws and rules and regulations with respect to government contracts, and there are times that corporations do things they should not do, in which case they tend to be suspended for some period.
This company was never in the penalty box.
They had a report on CNN with Jean Bellerive, and he said specifically that there was organ harvesting and child kidnapping going on.
And we have already reports of a lot of trafficking, even of organ trafficking.
Of organ trafficking?
Yeah. Now, already.
Of the victims of the earthquake?
Yeah. So,
do you know that for sure?
Yeah, I know that for sure, and it was discussed in Montreal during the conference.
Who has the contracts?
That would be a multitude of individuals.
Could you name some, please?
Well, I think off the top of my head, well, I would rather not. I'd rather provide that for the record.
That's not privileged information, is it?
I'm sure it's not.
Well,
I'm worth $50 million and I need a kidney. And you know, kidneys are pretty sensitive. You got to find somebody who really got the kidney that matches yours. You think I'm gonna wait till somebody die for me to get one? If I don't get one soon, I'm gonna die. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pay somebody to go research people. Okay, let's go look at all the black organ donors. Let's look at all the black people who got organ donor on their driver's license, which is why I'm not a friend of that. I say, if you want to donate your organs, put it in your will. Say that if I die, this could go to my family, my relatives, my friends, or whomever. But when you put it on your license, I believe you make yourself a public target. And so what did they find? We got a guy in Los Angeles. He has the same blood type as you, same kidney type as you likely. He healthy though, he ain't likely to die no time soon. He don't know you, so he ain't gonna give you no organ for free. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna arrange a murder that makes it look like he was in a car accident. We're gonna arrange a murder that makes it look like he committed suicide. So the next thing you know, you coming out the gas station, boom, you get hit by a Mack truck, you dead, gone. You get taken to the funeral home, your family come to the funeral, they don't know that before your body got laid to rest, a little hole was poked and they pulled your kidney out.
That's what happened in New Orleans. Remember when you saw those helicopters? They were picking up all them black babies and taking them up in the helicopter. And my husband and I sit down and said, we wouldn't have sent our son with them. I don't care who they was. We all died in the water together. We wouldn't have sent our baby up there. And they never got a bunch of those children back, as we all know.
We call it a new form of evil on the world. It's never been done by any government in the past, to take a large group of its own people and say, we're going to kill you without any kind of a trial, and we're going to sell your vital organ parts.
An individual from the United States or Canada, for example, could anticipate undergoing transplantation on a specified date.
It's a crime against humanity. It's abhorrent, and it needs to stop.
Human rights lawyer David Matas and former Secretary of State for Asia Pacific David Kilgore started to investigate allegations of forced organ harvesting in China. They found at least 52 points of circumstantial evidence, including websites of Chinese hospitals offering matching organs in less than a week.
It's just not possible unless you have an unlimited source of organs. And these are people who are alive. We're talking about live donors. The actual transplant surgery itself was the form of execution. These were living people that were killed for their organs.
Makes you think of some grotesque restaurant where you go in and you pick your lobster in a tank. But these are human beings we're talking about.
We estimate that in the period between 2000 and 2005, there are 41,500 transplants which have no other explained source.
Doctors would come into the camps, they would look in their eyes, they would examine their organs with ultrasound and the like, and they were the only people in these camps who were medically examined thoroughly.
If you're going to go to China and you're going to get a liver transplant during the 3 weeks you are there, then that means someone is going to go schedule an execution, blood type and tissue type the potential executee, and have them ready to go before you need to leave.
Starting at the end of 1999, the number of transplants taking place just exploded.
China carries out more organ transplant surgeries than any country besides the United States. But unlike other countries, China has no effective organ donation program. China's Deputy Minister of Health, Huang Jiefu, has suggested that there are 7,000 transplants every year from the deceased, and that more than 90% come from executed prisoners. The number of criminal executions in China is classified as a state secret, but Amnesty International's estimate is about 1,700.
The numbers just didn't add up. It's just too large of a discrepancy there.
With only 1,700 executed criminals and no effective donation system, where do the rest of the organs come from?
Around 1999, there were around 150 transplant centers. 6-7 years later, they had 600 transplantation centers. This is an increase by 300% within such a short period of time without an organ donation program.
Military hospitals get watched in China, okay? There is nothing they can do without the Party Central taking note of what they're doing. Was this run by triads? No. This is run by the state. This was murder, and it came from the state.
This is a crime against humanity. We should do our best to identify those specific individuals who are engaged in this and put them on the list of people who deserve to be brought to justice.
In 2006, when this came out and we realized that they were killing prisoners of conscience for their organs, it was doctors that took the front line in trying to stop this.
Every day there are a dozen of people that are executed or killed for organs in China. So we have to bring out the message, we have to inform medical doctors to stop this practice.
But it's not only the medical community that's getting informed. The U.S. State Department mentioned allegations of forced organ harvesting in its annual Human Rights Report on China in 2011 for the first time. On October 3rd, 106 U.S. congressional representatives signed this bipartisan Dear Colleague letter to the State Department, demanding they reveal information on organ harvesting that they may have obtained from their sources in China.
This barbaric human rights abuse must be stopped, but to stop it, we first have to further expose it.
The military is making money off of it, the hospitals are making money off of it, the middlemen are making money off of it, and we talk about money. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar operation.
We had witnesses of disappearances, people who'd been examined and then had disappeared, busloads, entire prison wards which had been emptied out. The signs began to look like something much, much bigger.
Organs are the only commodity that people must have to live that you cannot buy in a store.
Let's agree we're not going to sell body parts of babies. And let's agree we're not going to keep them alive to take their organs. And let's agree we're going to tell China to stop killing Christians and Buddhists and holding them in cells for years and genetically typing them, preparing them. We've reached a point in our society where there effectively is an Amazon.com for human parts. Entire babies. Representative Diane Black, Republican Tennessee, asked the witness at the special hearing on bioethics in fetal tissue on Wednesday. Dr. Jared Kevin Donovan, a pediatrician and bioethicist at Georgetown University, responded that the practice of using tissue from aborted babies the government termed research shocks my conscience, and it should shock the conscience of the nation. See, they played a game where they go, fetal tissue, fetal tissue. Bush won't let us have fetal tissue. But then if you label it differently, you can use whatever you want. See, it's all games, and that's being shattered now.
I think you're absolutely right. You know, we have commodified what have been referred to as the products of conception, meaning babies and baby parts. And yes, they are for sale, supposedly just to cover one's costs. But those costs seem to be quite variable. But even if they were given away free, it's shocking to be ordering what you want. Can I have a boy fetus or a girl fetus or a brain or a heart or a liver? This is totally in distinction to the honorable transplantation industry that is life-saving and shows great respect for the donors.